It's time for Trending Tuesday. I'm Justin.
And I'm JP.
And we are the Podcasting Dead, as the name would suggest. Yes, we do podcast about The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, and all Walking Dead related things. However, as this podcast will show you, there's so much more to us than you see on the surface.
We're branching out, baby.
Yeah, so if you like podcasts, keep it locked right here. Consider hitting that subscribe button. It don't cost you anything. Also, that like button helps us out a ton. Stay tuned after the podcast. We'll talk about our Patreon and give you some social media info. But in the meantime, JP, are you ready to jump into it?
I hope the stories aren't too titillating. I can't be overstimulated this morning.
Say that again.
I can't be overstimulated this morning.
The titillating part.
Are there some titillating stories on there you're about to read?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's the name of the game.
God, of all mornings, you could try to be titillating. You got to pick this one. You know I'm on a razor's edge.
Why are you not ready to be titillated this morning?
I'm just going to hold on and we'll get through it together, and that's it.
All right, sit back, relax, and let me titillate you.
All right.
So, turns out, speaking of being stimulated, according to USA Today, a new study shows drinking coffee might just help you burn off fat.
Drinking? They're always coming up with new stuff about coffee being good for you. I'm not buying it.
The researchers found that coffee can stimulate something called brown fat in your body, which heats up and burns calories.
Brown fat? You mean doo-doo? That stuff that comes out? That's what they're talking about. It makes you go to the bathroom and you get rid of that brown
Coffee
fat.
does. Like, I love coffee and I drink it probably more than I should, but coffee can sometimes just hit you in the wrong kind of way and you're just like, oh God.
Yeah, I don't mess with it too much. Every now and then I'll get
It don't
some.
get me too bad, but I know some people, I'm going to tell you, they have some coffee. You see them drinking coffee, go ahead and do what you got to do in the bathroom because they're going to tear it up.
Yeah.
But, so yeah. And forgive me, it's early in the morning and I'm eating a potato wedge from Biscuitville. So, I apologize. All right, moving forward, a story from YouGov says a new survey asked people to name the top slang terms that they use to describe something that's positive or favorable. And across all generations, the top three were awesome, cool, and nice.
Yeah, I could see that. Everybody be saying cool.
That's kind of awesome. Like that Journey song, Not Separate Ways, Don't Stop Believing. It's kind of just one of those things that's timeless. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like we were telling you, I saw my little sister's in her very, very early 20s, and they were at a music festival, and somebody was doing a cover of Journey's Don't Stop Believing, and all these, early 20-somethings were just hands in the air and singing every word. And it's like, man, some things are just timeless. They go cross generations, and apparently it's the same for those slang terms. I know that I say awesome, cool, and nice quite a bit. I know you say nice quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm
like if I say it got so-and-so, you'd be like, nice, nice. I know that I say it.
Yeah, now we'd be saying dope a lot,
We kind of brought that back. I think you got me back into saying that. I'm not going to lie, but that's dope. So a new story here from Thrillist tells us 4 ways that you're wasting money on your health.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so a new study found that vitamin D pills don't actually help your heart. Other studies had shown a link between heart disease and vitamin D deficiencies, but the new study found taking pills doesn't really make a difference. Things that will help your heart include exercise, a healthy diet, and quitting smoking. Here are 4 more health-related things that you might be throwing money away on. Gluten-free foods. The jury's still kind of out on the benefits of if you don't have, what do they call it? Celiac disease?
I don't know what it is about.
So you might not want to spend the money unless your doctor says it's a good idea. That was such a fad diet like a couple years ago. I mean, I know a few people who are, I know a person or two who have gluten allergens, like doctor prescribed, hey, gluten messes your body up. But it just became a thing where every hipster was like, oh, is that gluten-free? It's like, you might not have a gluten deficiency. Did you ever go gluten-free?
No. I want to eat everything as it is, as God intended, full of high fructose corn syrup and all the other good stuff.
Number 3, brown eggs. They sometimes cost more, even though there's no difference in the nutritional value. In general, brown eggs come from hens with brown feathers. And those breeds are bigger, so they cost more to raise. The one exception is cage-free and organic eggs, which are better for you and more likely to be brown.
That's another thing, man. Be pushing the what you call it, the brown fat out of me. Those brown eggs.
Right.
Yeah,
that's the theme this morning. Is just I guess just brown fat, brown eggs.
Yeah.
Anti-aging. What?
I said I'll be making some brown fat after I eat them brown eggs.
Number 2, anti-aging creams. Consumer Reports tested 9 of them, and the results were, quote, underwhelming. They only worked for a couple of people, and the changes were very subtle. So you're better off spending money on sunblock to prevent wrinkles.
Absolutely. Brother, you want to stay young, you want to feel young, you've got to transfuse the blood of the young into your body. And that's real. That's real. They've tried it in mice. It works. Young blood in you or in an older person, man, it revitalizes you. So look it up. Look it up. That's all.
Okay, moving on. Number 1, fish oil pills. The fatty acids in fish, nuts, and seeds are good for you, so try to eat more of those. But there's still no proof that fish oil pills do the same thing. And a new study last week found they don't help with dementia either.
Oh, that's upsetting.
Yeah. So check this out. Some good news. Apparently, you were actually maybe just talking about this. Over 2,000 people right next door to us in North Carolina hit a lottery jackpot on Saturday by playing the numbers 0000. Whew. 2,014 people played those numbers. About half of them bought $1 tickets and got a $5,000 payout. The other half bought 50-cent tickets and won $2,500. Could you imagine paying 50 cents for something and then getting $2,500?
Yeah, man. I've never been lucky enough to really gamble or play the lottery.
I played one time, right? I got a scratcher. I got a $20 scratcher. I won, right? So I was like, the guy that was with me was like, man, I would take that and get you like, $4 or $5 cards, just get different ones. And so I was like, okay, yeah, that's smart. Got them. I didn't win anything. So I just basically won my money back and then threw it away.
Yeah, man. When I was night manager at the grocery store, I rang up a lot of lottery tickets. And a lot of people do like playing just, those single numbers. Somebody would come up and be like, yeah, give me trip ones. Give me trip one. And at first I was like, trip ones? What are you talking about? But, that's won 3 times. And, a lot of people play it like that.
Yep.
To varying success.
You hadn't played a lot of cards, have you?
No, I don't really play cards. The games of chance, I just, for one thing, they're forbidden in the book of Deuteronomy.
But you don't believe in the Bible, so that doesn't matter. For
another thing, I can find funner ways to throw my money away, which I know with cards, it's not like you're always gambling.
Poker, man. I love playing poker. I don't play any big games, but, I
just don't have the attention span for it.
You would if you played with us.
I find my mind wandering.
You would if you played with us. Let's see, but yeah, so that's pretty awesome. The total payout of $7.8 million is the largest in the game's history. The previous record was $7.5 million that happened in 2012 when the 4 winning numbers were 1111.
Huh.
So yeah, people. All right, this one makes me mad. This is going to be the bad news. We try to always give some good news, which I don't know if I found anything good. Because we search like Google, Yahoo, and just different places for this. But okay, Lexi Rabe. Do you know who that is?
I do not.
That is the 7-year-old little girl who played Tony Stark's daughter in Avengers Endgame.
Oh, okay.
Slight spoilers if you haven't seen Endgame, but come on, man. If you haven't seen it by this point, I can't help you. Well... This just cyberbullying, man. This is just insane. People are bullying her and her family, both in person and online. A 7-year-old little girl.
For what?
Well, nobody really knows. They say it's just because she's famous now, and even though she's still a kid, people expect stuff from her in public, like autographs, pictures, conversations, or whatever. And I guess maybe she's a 7-year-old little girl. When I was 7, I was told not to talk to strangers. So, no, I was not famous, but I could imagine, having a 7-year-old little girl, famous or not. I don't really want strangers coming up to her in public.
Well, I mean, and they're bullying her online, too.
Oh, yeah. It's so bad. She posted a video on Instagram where she apologized for how she messes up when she's out in public sometimes. She adds, quote, "Please don't bully my family or me." She also posted an anti bullying image with Tony Stark on it. But, I mean, it's just absurd. It's a 7-year-old little girl. I don't care if she looked at you in public and called you a stupid. I mean, she's a 7-year-old little girl.
Wow,
it takes a pathetic. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get off my high horse, but it takes a pathetic, sorry piece of. Excuse my language. I know we don't usually cuss on this one, but I'm going to do it. A sorry piece of shit to bully a 7-year-old little girl. I hope you catch a mouthful of fist in your very near future to whomever is on there doing it. Like I said, she is a 7-year-old little girl.
I didn't even know a 7-year-old could have Instagram.
Bullying's not okay regardless, but at the end of the day, you're bullying a 7-year-old little girl. No. I mean, if you want to hear this is what she sounds like, just take a listen. This is what she had to post on Instagram, a 7-year-old little girl to ask people to quit bullying her.
Hi, I'm Lexi Wade, and I'm only 7 years old. And I mess up sometimes. So, my mom and dad gave me tons of talking tos and timeouts. Believe me. And if I go anywhere and I'm acting a little silly or messed up or anything like that, I'm just 7 years old. Please don't bully my family or me. Bye. Love you, 3,000.
People are pathetic. Let me stop that. That is so sad that a 7-year-old little girl had to post that video.
I used to get just as outraged when people talk guff about Honey Boo Boo because, I was a big fan of that show.
Here.
I was a big fan.
I mean, nobody should bully her, but I just don't see you as a Honey Boo Boo fan.
Yeah,
you say you were a rabid Here Comes Honey Boo Boo fan, but I don't believe it.
I loved Sugar Bear. I loved the whole gang. Mama June. Uncle Poodle. Uncle Poodle was one of my favorites.
Well, I mean, still, it's a little girl. Don't bully a little girl. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's pathetic. I mean, and the thing is, you know how people are online. So we're not just saying like people are going, hey, I saw you and tried to get an autograph and you were mean to me. That's not bullying. They're talking like people are, doing what they do on the internet, which is being just downright ugly. Oh, anyway, moving on. But I'm telling you, man, if I was that girl's dad, I'd probably end up in jail.
Oh.
Not gonna bully a 7-year-old little girl, man. I don't know. It's people suck. People don't suck. There are a lot of great people on this planet. That I do promise you. I've met and have the privilege of knowing a lot of them. However, some people do suck ass. But they are
fun.
I don't want to know about what you and your woman do in the privacy of your home. I've told you, no matter how many times you try to give me the graphic details, man, I don't want to know the things that you two do.
What can I say? I'm just a tube up the ass white boy.
I was going to say, when you were telling me about the big toe and the butthole thing, I was like, dude, just drop it. I don't want to.
I didn't know I told you about that.
Yeah. That's when I told you, don't tell me anything else. I don't want to know. I'm eating another potato wedge. Sorry.
No, they're good.
They are. They're a little too thick, though.
Yeah,
I mean, I like potatoes, but I mean, I like the crispy outside, too, and you kind of lose that taste when you bite into it, and it's all just fluffy potato on the inside.
They pulled them out the fryer too quick. I don't think they seasoned that.
They don't. They could use some salt.
I don't think they seasoned them either.
You know the potato wedges that I like?
Which ones?
Bojangles.
Yeah.
They have that Cajun.
I'm telling you, man, it must be wild for our international listeners because, Biscuitville's kind of a regional little chain. And
I forget that, yeah.
People
it's the best biscuit you'll ever have in your entire life.
I love it. And it's funny because, people in England, they call cookies biscuits. So to them, we're like saying Cookieville.
They're thinking, oh, man, these guys are wild. They had cookies for breakfast.
Yeah. If I you can get potato wedges at Cookieville.
Why would you want potatoes and cookies?
Yeah. Pretty wild.
I mean, we Americans, we have some weird habits, so we have
some great regional Bojangles, Biscuitville. Two of the main reasons why we have such a obesity, increase around here.
Yep.
Obesity epidemic.
So moving on, I've seen this. There's a website where you can buy a personalized video message from a celebrity. So who do you think? You've seen people do it, right? Like, remember our buddy who, unfortunately, God rest his soul, is no longer here, that put on the first and only Danville Comic Con.
Oh, yeah.
Remember he had Bam Margera gave a personalized message, to him, basically like, hey, come on out to the Danville Comic Con, yada, yada, yada. And that's where he went. You can go pick a celebrity and you pay money. And they say, depending on the celebrity, some of them are actually pretty affordable, like considering who the celebrity, just depends on the celebrity, I guess, and how in demand they are. Do you want to take a guess on who the most expensive would be?
Taylor Swift.
No.
Angelina Jolie.
No.
Bill Cosby.
No.
Oh.
Caitlyn Jenner, $2,500 to get a personalized message from Caitlyn Jenner.
That's pretty crazy.
$2,500. The cheapest is a soccer player named Lee Tuck, who you can get for just $7.
Yeah, I guess just this service in general, you're not getting like A-list celebrities like Brad Pitt.
Some people do, yeah. Well, yeah, you're probably right. It probably isn't like. Let's see. This comes from BuzzFeed, but here are. There are, let's see, since a lot of people you think would be more popular, significantly less. So if you're somewhere in the $500 range, you can get Brett Favre, you can get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Billy Zane, Wesley Snipes, and Snoop Dogg for $500.
Ooh, I'd love Wesley Snipes.
You can get Gary Busey and Charlie Sheen for $350.
That's wild, man. I guess it's kind of like the same concept at a Comic-Con, X amount of money, you can get a handshake and a photograph.
For the $100 to $150 range, you can get Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, man.
You can get Ghostbuster Ernie Hudson, Neo, Tommy Chong, and Joey Fatone. There are a couple of celebrities under 100, but that's where the quality starts to dip. If you don't really have a budget, then like I said, you can go with Lee Tuck, a soccer player, for like $7. I mean, if he can make $7 off of that, I mean, we could at least make like $1.50, right?
Maybe. That's wild, man. So we could get like a D-list celebrity to do like a Podcasting Dead promo for us.
D-list celebrity, man. I tell you what, it'd be cool to get Snoop Dogg to do one.
Yeah. That's why this is Wesley Snipes. You're listening to the Podcasting Dead. That doesn't sound like Wesley Snipes.
I was going to say, I mean, that doesn't sound anything remotely close.
Man, Wesley Snipes is tough because he's just got that deep, seductive voice. Man, if we could get a dude that plays Strand, man, now that'd be worth it.
That would be awesome.
That would be worth it,
Victor Strand. I don't know why he talks like Morgan Freeman.
Yeah,
because that's not how Strand talks.
It's just one of those go-to voices.
If you ever get a chance, man, whether you play video games or not, it doesn't matter. If you get a chance, it's several years old, but if you look up, what is it called? DayZ. Mm-hmm. Morgan Freeman plays DayZ. It's a guy that just does a Morgan Freeman impersonation, but he runs around the game, playing. You play online with other people, doing the Morgan Freeman voice. I mean, it is freaking hilarious. Like, because on that game, you can like tie people up and take their clothes and stuff, and he's just like, "Why do you want my semen? Put my pants back on."
Jeez.
But yeah, that is funny, video game player or not. So check this out. This one's interesting, and it's honestly kind of a little bit depressing. So I found this on The Guardian. There's good news and there's bad news. Which do you want first? You want the good news first.
Yeah, give me the good news.
The good news is that one day in the future, we will finally fulfill a science fiction dream and we'll be able to create colonies where we can live on other planets.
Is that right?
That's the good news. Do you want to take a guess as to what the bad news could be without looking at the article?
Will it turn into like mutated monsters hungry for human flesh and then come back to the Earth? And there's going to be an awful civil war with mutants and peoples.
No, but that sounds like a wonderful story. We should make that into a comic.
Yeah, we will.
Or did you steal that plot from something I haven't seen?
No, but I mean, I have watched stuff like on History Channel, like documentaries where they're like, give it a couple generations, people living in these colonies on other planets will have like attributes.
Mars. They said Mars people will, what is it? They will get taller. I can't remember the height thing, but I know their skin will start to get an orangish tint to it. But no, the bad news is actually when we're repopulating those colonies, men aren't really necessary.
Wow.
A new study found that when frozen sperm samples were exposed to microgravity situations, they held up and survived perfectly. Now, I know that they probably studied these in controlled anti-gravity environments, but, at first I thought that meant that they had taken it to space and tested out. And I was like, who was the scientist that got to be like, I'm the first man to step on the moon. I'm the first one to launch a satellite. I'm the first one to take jizz into space. But it is a study to further the human. While we mock it and make fun of it, it actually could be one of the most important studies done in that. Anyways, talking about our repopulation off this planet. But so when it's time to colonize Mars or wherever we decide to go, instead of sending up like guys and girls to do the, like the Adam and Eve kind of, first humans or whatever, it's going to probably, or it could be, I don't know that it will be, but it could be all-female crews traveling with a frozen sperm bank instead. And that might be smart, because a NASA study once found that space crews where everyone's the same gender do better on missions and have more cohesive teams.
Would you be a space colonist? Would you spend 10 years on another planet?
Not after Elon Musk said the first people to go to colonize Mars will probably die. No, thank you. I'm good.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, if it was a stable thing and like they had an atmosphere, well, I can't say they had an atmosphere because it would take a long time if you could even create one on Mars or wherever. But, they had like a dome or whatever, just a habitable space on Mars. I mean, I'd consider it, but at the end, I probably wouldn't.
What about a colony at the bottom of the sea?
Nope.
No.
That, if you listen to this podcast, my biggest fear is drowning. Even though I love the water, I am terrified of drowning. Just the thought of being in a submarine, or like one of my favorite games ever is the BioShock franchise, and just the thought of being in a city underwater. Oh, no. It'd be beautiful, I'm sure, but not for me.
What about a colony like in the Antarctic?
Yeah, I mean, if it's
venture out into Antarctica, like uncharted territory.
Well, then it wouldn't be a colony if we're venturing out into uncharted territory.
Well, you would colonize it.
So I got you. I don't know why. In my mind, I thought you meant like they were already established colonies, and would I go there? I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, Cole. I mean, as long as I was with a group of people that knew what they were doing, and I had time to learn what I need to do and all of that. Yeah, maybe I would do that over top of going to the bottom of the ocean.
Well, we'll look into it.
You think, and we will get back into it because we got a few more little things before we wrap up. But now you think, what is it about Antarctic? You think there's some crazy stuff going on in the Antarctic, correct?
Yeah, well, a lot of people think that the earliest civilization was in Antarctica before the I guess the last ice age, and now you just got like miles of ice just sitting on top. So whatever's under it, is just. And plus, I mean, the Ice Age, you had glaciers drifting all across the American continents. So, I mean, there could be earlier civilizations that were literally just erased off the face of the earth.
Wow.
Because these just ice, just miles of ice, just grazing across the land, across the continent.
Crazy thought to think of. So, you're saying that it's possible that perhaps life didn't start in Africa. Maybe it started in Antarctica and went out from there. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I've read stuff like that. I'm not going to quote it. I forget what study it was from, but I read somewhere that people are thinking like somewhere in the mountains of Europe is where like the earliest Homo sapiens came from. I mean, you'll look into that because, it's just kind of common knowledge that, well, it's not common knowledge, but anybody that knows anything knows the human race started in Africa.
Right. I thought that's where they thought the Garden of Eden might have been.
Yeah. And man, that makes me want to look it up. I don't want to get detracted.
Yeah, we'll come back to that when we do our Wednesday podcast. You just research that between now and then, and then we'll touch back on that tomorrow. So I got a question for you, JP.
Lay it on
And
me.
I want you to be honest here.
Okay.
I think I know the answer, though. But I don't know how to prove that if I'm right. I didn't just say I was right to say I was right. I'm going to hold up 1 for yes and 2 for no.
Okay.
And I am going to put it under the table.
One is yes, 2 is no.
1 is yes, 2 is no. All right. So here's the question. I found this interesting little thing on OK Whatever. So would you eat a stranger's leftovers at a restaurant?
No. But
I said no. I knew you wouldn't. You're a little bit more of a germaphobe anyways. I figured it would keep you from doing that.
Yeah, I have, I was really drunk one night. I did down some, leftover cocktails that were sitting around.
You figured, hey, the alcohol will kill the germs, right?
I don't know. I had an awful sore throat the next day. So, I don't know.
Oh, well, so there's a debate online right now about whether or not it's cool to eat a stranger's leftovers off of a table at a restaurant. There's even a term for that. It's called free-range mooching. The big pros, free food. You cut down on the insane amount of food waste at restaurants, and it's not as gross as, say, eating food out of a dumpster. The big cons, you have to tuck all your germophobia, away to do that. It's not socially acceptable, and it could be embarrassing if people see you. And since it could be a liability issue for restaurants, they could kick you out if they catch you.
I was going to say, what restaurant's going to let somebody just wander in and start eating off, leftover plates?
If you were going to eat a leftover food, what's something that you would be comfortable eating a leftover?
Oh, man,
I would say steak, because I can always just cut where they had bit and then eat the rest of it. Something like a milkshake or what. Like, there are some things where it's just like it's. I'm not as big of a germaphobe. I'm just thinking from like the perspective of a germaphobe. It's like, well, they could have touched the steak, but as far as their spit in their mouth, there's certain things that like soup. I wouldn't eat a soup after them just because they've probably got back. I don't know if backwashing soup's a thing, but you get what I'm saying. Like the spoon's been in their mouth, back in the bowl, back in their mouth, back in the bowl. Steak, at least, they've probably only really touched the steak probably with a fork and then cut it. So I would just take and cut where they had bit off and then just continue to chomp down on it.
I'm a big Gordon Ramsay fan. His UK show, The F Word, he actually sent out, he's got people that go out and do these little pieces out in the field. And this guy went around London, like dumpster diving and just getting stuff that restaurants had thrown out, like, say, like day-old bagels or something, man. And he had a feast that he picked out of dumpsters, man. Like, working at the grocery store, man, we'd find dumpster divers all the time.
Well, sometimes you guys have to, so correct me if I'm wrong, but like I remember when I worked at Food Lion, which was not nearly as long as you had worked at Food Lion. Mm-hmm. But, they have a very, strict policy of, of course they want to not give anybody anything contaminated or whatever. So I remember if it was something like, if it left the store and came back, you had to throw it away.
If it's fresh, if it's produce or meat or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you could take 2 steps out the front door with a rack of ribs, we still got to throw them away.
And they got to throw them away.
I would hate it because these guys would come in just be like, yeah, my wife wanted me to get, a 93% fat ground chuck instead of 73% fat ground chuck. And I'd be like, well, that's great, man. It kind of sucks to have to throw away, 2 pounds of hamburger now, but go ahead and by all means get the.
Right.
So, yeah, stuff like that kind of drives me crazy.
So I see why some people do dumpster dive. I mean, there are some things that, and I mean, I understand why Food Lion does that because you don't know what they do to it once they leave the store. I mean, they can step out the store and contaminate it and bring it back in. And if you put it back on the shelf, then you're responsible for, whoever eats it and gets whatever. So I get it, but it does suck because that's a lot of good food going to waste.
Yeah, we throw away, which, I mean, we would always try to send what we could to the food bank. But, yeah, a lot of good food gets wasted. And, man, 9 times out of 10, people are dumpster diving because they're going to take it and bring it back in the store to another store to try to get a refund.
Just like I've seen, do you remember there was a show on Fuse where the guy was like a professional con man, and he would go into trash cans at McDonald's and he would grab out a receipt.
Yeah.
And then he would go through the drive-thru, for instance, and let's just say the thing said cheeseburger, no onions. He'd go through the drive-thru and be like, hey, I was just here, and he'd read the time. I was just here like 10 minutes ago, and I ordered a cheeseburger, no onions, but it was full of onions.
Yeah.
And back then, they took people, back then places weren't quite as strict, so they would be like, oh, we're sorry about that, pull around, we'll get you another cheeseburger. They wouldn't even ask for the old one back because what are they going to do with it,
Yeah.
And, I mean, he had cups from all the restaurants in his trunk, and he would just walk in and refill it and yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, I mean, people do stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
So, moving on, this is kind of grimy, actually. So, I found this was a story that someone shared off of Reddit, but someone just posted about a wedding shaming Facebook group about a bride and a maid of honor who secretly charged the bridesmaids double for their dresses to try and scam money out of them for the bride's wedding dress. And when they got caught, 4 of the bridesmaids immediately dropped out of the wedding, as I would have too.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just had to drop $200 on a tux, and I wanted to drop out just for that. But at least I was paying the Men's Warehouse, so I knew that my buddy wasn't, getting on me.
Yeah, I think that I don't know, man. That's some grimy stuff. I mean, you're already asking people to spend money on, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. When somebody asks you to be a groomsman or a best man, you think, man, that's an honor. But what you don't realize is there's a reason why they have to, straight up ask, in the sense of it's not just obviously will you do it, but it's like they're asking you to spend money. I mean, I was in a wedding like yourself. It was 1 year. I was in like 3 weddings in 1 year. And, I mean, it was like the cheapest tux was like 100 and something. Now, one of my best friends did something really cool. Instead of getting us groomsmen gifts, he paid for the tuxes. He was like, I figured rather than buy you guys, a little something, you'd probably be happier if you just didn't have to pay for your tux. And I was like, yeah, dude, that's awesome. Like, that's way more than a groomsman gift, though. Which I would probably do that if I was doing tuxes when I got married, which I won't do tuxes when I get married. But anyways, I would definitely try to do that. But yeah, that's so you're already spending money to be in something that is, stupid. A little boring.
Yeah.
And then you're going to find out that you're being scammed. That's, yeah. I would have not only dropped out of that wedding, I don't know that I'd be friends with that bride anymore.
I'm telling you, man, the price of weddings now, they make people crazy.
When we go to the beach, like I'm the one that handles the finance and getting it booked and everything. And just for that reason alone, man, I show people my math. Mm-hmm. Like we have a group Facebook that's just for all of us that go to the beach. And like I break down the math and I'm like, and even if it ends up being like, sometimes I'll round it. So if like everybody owes, I don't know, $220.75, I'll just round it up to 221. It's 25 cents. Even then, I'll be like, now, if you guys want your 25 cents back, I will get that to you. Just because, man, I just would never want to be accused of stealing money from someone.
Yeah. Y'all are going in October this time.
Yeah, having the baby pushed it back a little bit. We didn't know how she would do. She rides pretty good, but we didn't know how she would do on a long travel.
Her as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I got to say, we've got some amazing friends. And I mean, I'm like, seriously, like they always say you'll find out who your true friends are when you have babies. Like all of my friends have been not only just still there, but have been like really into it. Like, I mean, all of our female friends, of course, are just crazy about her. And even James, Mr. Clardy, you're infatuated with him.
Clardy.
He comes by he came by, like one night he came by the house and we were whatever. And I mentioned that the baby had an upset stomach and wasn't feeling well. And then that Sunday, guess what? He rolls in the house about lunchtime, said, I was just in town, figured I'd stop by and see how the baby's doing. Is she feeling better? No, she was crying a lot last night, and I'm like, "Look at you coming! That's special, man. I appreciate that."
I just see him just like kind of shaking his beard in front of the baby.
Oh, the baby locked onto it. Yeah,
wow.
He was holding the baby the other night, and I mean, she grabbed a fistful of beard, and I mean, his beard, as you know, is like what, twice as long as mine.
Yeah, it's getting there.
And she grabbed it, and she would not let. I'm talking both hands, just dug in there.
Oh man, that's weirding me out.
She got a hold of mine. Really, all you could do is grab her hand and pull it off. It's all right. But yeah, no. But I actually, believe it or not, we were looking at options to, maybe see if somebody would watch her, and we'd go because not that we didn't want to take her, but we didn't know that our friends would want to go with us if we had her. And then like all of our friends separately were like, hey, look, if y'all bring the baby and other people don't want to be around the baby on their vacation, then we'll just go in with you guys and we'll rent our own house and they can stay in another house because we don't mind being around the baby. Like every one of them came to us separately and said that. And we're like, everybody else has said that too. So I guess it means everybody's cool with the baby in the house.
I guess.
So yeah, we're taking the baby, which at that point she'll be like 6 months old or something. So I mean, she'll be old enough to like sit up. She's already only 2 months and about crawling. So
yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, I digress. But I'm saying like that's people like that are the exact reasons why when I have to take money from people to all go in on something, I show people the math or receipts or whatever. You know what I mean? Like people suck. Let me see if there's any other stories that I had or that are worth talking about because it is about time to wrap it up.
Use the bath. Yeah, to wrap it up.
To go get rid of the brown fat.
Yeah, gotta get rid of that brown fat, brother. It's stimulating me right now.
All right, well.
Thanks to Biscuitville. This
is interesting, and we'll wrap it up with this because you and I both love music. So we'll. I think most people do love music, but we somewhat work in the music industry. So this is pretty interesting from the BusinessInsider.com, and you can check them out for more information on this. But they have a list of the top-selling one-hit wonders over the years. And there's no precise definition of a one-hit wonder, just artists who had one single that just blew up and did better than anything else that they had. And so going from number 11 up, Whoop, There It Is by Tag Team. Back in 1993.
We love that
4 times platinum.
Wow.
All right, and that's just number 11. It's going to get more and more as we go up. Number 10, Hey There Delilah by the Plain White T's. And that was in 2006, and that went 4 times platinum. I hated that song when it came out. Hated it. Now maybe it's a nostalgic thing, but I kind of don't mind it now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Did you hate it then and you hate it now?
I mean, I was indifferent then, and I'm more. I mean, it definitely got played to death back in that year.
Yes, it did. Number 9, Macarena by Los Del Rio in 1993 went 4 times platinum. The English language remix came out 2 years later in 1995.
We love that.
I know you remember this song. Right. God, who doesn't? And what's bad is I remember this song came out. I had just been through like a big breakup with a longtime girlfriend, was heartbroken. Anyways, we'll get to that. Number 8 is Lips of an Angel by Hinder. Back in 2006, it went 4 times platinum. You know, the honey, why you call? You know what I'm talking about? He starts off real like really kind of like the nasally thing. Honey, why you calling me?
I'm going to have to hear it, man.
You don't know that song?
It's not ringing a bell. I'm not saying I don't know it. But
what's funny is my buddy was riding with me. His name was David, but everybody called him Bro Man. And he and I worked together. You know, we worked like late. We were riding. Me and this girl had just broke up. And, you know, this song come on. I'm listening to it. And, you know, I'm just kind of in my own little world. And it's so funny because, you know, all he really liked was rap and hip hop with the occasional Avenged Sevenfold song. But, like, we're riding and he goes, yo, you think I don't know what you're doing over there, man? Turn that bulls. He's like, don't be over there sulking over that girl, man. You think because I don't like this music, I ain't listening to the words? This is some sappy bullshit, man. Turn it.
So he knew what time it was.
He knew what time it was. I'll never forget that. It cracked me up. I was like, well, you know what? That made me feel better than any song will. So you know what? Let's go. Number 7. Remember that song by Far East Movement, Like a G6?
Yeah, I do.
That came out in 2010, went 4 times platinum.
God, I hope Lou Bega's on this list.
I know you remember this song. Back in 2006, it went 4 times platinum by Chamillionaire. Chamillionaire. I had that album, and I said Chamillionaire. Riding Dirty. They see me rolling. They hating. That went 4 times platinum. Now we're getting out of the 4 times platinum, and we're going to the 5 times platinum. Sitting at number 5, Panda by Die Singer back in 2015. I hated that song. The one that's like Panda. It's awful. Number 4, Watch Me, Whip and Nene. Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nene. That come out in 2015 by Salento. It went 6 times platinum. I hated that song too. But also keep in mind that I don't think it was aimed at people our age then. You know, my little teenage brother and sister just loved it. Do the dance and everything. I'm like, I know how my dad felt, I guess. Number 3. I love this song the first time I heard it, and I really think that several of my friends and family loved it because I showed it to them. I remember, and I know this is kind of long and out there, but just bear with me. I remember going to a wedding. Everything kind of comes full circle here. I'd been at a wedding and been out all night, and my good pal Brad, that you know, ended up DDing because I was in no shape to drive, and I went and crashed at his house. And the next morning, I woke up before he did, because whenever you crash on someone's couch, you always seem to wake up before they do, and it's really awkward. And you just, because I had never, this was actually at his parents' house. They were out of town because he lived like in Charlottesville, which is like 3 hours away. So he was like, we can go crash at my parents' house. They're not there. And I remember I woke up, and I remember he had a bird in the house that was singing, but I remember MTV or something, well, it could have been MTV, I guess, VH1, somewhere that plays music was on the TV, and I hadn't been awake maybe 2 minutes, and I'm kind of setting up, and they're like, you know, doing a top 20 countdown, and on comes Let Her Go by Passenger. And I remember like showing it to people because I liked it, and then everybody listened to it so much that I ended up, now I hate it. But Passengers, Let Her Go. I know that was long. Sorry for getting so off track there. It just takes me back.
Yeah, I don't remember that one either.
If you love her, you let her go. You don't know that song?
Okay, I guess I probably do.
Only need the light when it's...
Okay, yeah. I got you.
I liked it when I first heard it. I was like, man, that's cool. I like that. And then, like, my mom and my buddy Cameron and everybody else just started playing the crap out of it.
Oh, yeah, that song was everywhere.
And I just got to hating it. I hate that, though. When you find a song you like, it's almost like you don't want to tell anybody about it because you just don't want to contribute to it being so widespread that you get tired of it.
Yeah, man, the grocery store I worked at, that was in rotation, and it drove me crazy.
Number 2. Now, this went 8 times platinum. Survivor's Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a good one.
Every time I play that on the radio, I'm like, hey, if you're going out for a morning run, you're welcome for the motivation. And number 1. I don't know anybody that didn't like this song, though I'm sure you're about to change that. I love this song, and to be honest with you, I still listen to it. I never really got tired of it.
What it is?
Somebody That I Used to Know by Gautier. in 2011.
I like Walk Off the Earth's version better. But,
that went 8 times platinum.
Wow.
Yep. So that was the number one. That was a huge. We actually had a top 40 station then. I remember we played that. I actually had a really good remixed version of it that had like just it wasn't one of those obnoxious remix where they change everything you like about the song. They kept the song the same. They just added some like sweet little like piano licks and stuff kind of in there to fill in some spaces. And I remember it was awesome. We ended up switching out the original version for the remix version on the radio because it just sounded so much better. Huh. Not that I don't love the original too, though. But so yeah, there you go. There's your Trending Tuesday. Those are the things that are out there on the interwebs, and we just saved you from having to scroll through Google and Yahoo today.
You're welcome.
So don't forget, tomorrow is Random Rambling Wednesday. It's where I let JP just talk about whatever he wants. It's unfiltered, unscripted, which everything we do is unscripted, but it's wild. So a lot of times it ends up being about conspiracies, which is why we're considering changing it from Random Rambling Wednesday to Woke Wednesday. But we'll see what the future holds.
I can't wait. And what we mentioned earlier, there actually is a bunch of articles, Europe being the birthplace of mankind, not Africa. So again, I'm going to look further into that and see.
That'd be a cool conversation for tomorrow.
The info is, but yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, that'd be really cool for tomorrow. But before we go, JP, let's do 2 things. And we forgot to do one thing yesterday, guys, and we are so sorry. Please forgive us. JP, let's give them the Patreon information, and let's give our patrons a shout-out and let them know how much we appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead. We'll put a link in the description of the video. Yep. Just contribute money to the podcast. It all goes into equipment and merch, and
we've not
all
pulled
this other
any
stuff.
of that money out yet. Like the little bit of money that we've gotten now, which we're very, very grateful for. We have not even pulled that out because we're going to let it bank up a little bit, and then we're going to take it out and hopefully get ourselves 2 cameras and a really good editing laptop. And we want to really just take the quality of this podcast to the next level.
And we're going to do it with your help, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yep. Don't forget, too, speaking of social media, while he pulls up our patrons, you can head over to Facebook, just facebook.com/thepodcastingdead. Just search for us there. Give us a like. We post on there. JP's been doing a pretty good job. For a while, I had gotten to where I was posting all the time on it. In the last few months, I've gotten a little slack, and JP's picked up the slack. I've been posting a lot of really cool stuff on there. And it isn't just Walking Dead related stuff. I mean, we talk about, everything sci-fi, nerd, geek, just all of that on the page. So make sure to like that on Facebook. We need to get an Instagram account started, but yeah, so that's there. Also, a quick plug for my dad. If you like cool drone videos, my dad and I share a love for drones and photography and videography and stuff, and he's now got his own business called SkyPix Drone Services, and they do even if you don't ever need his services, he actually posts some real wait till you see he went to Carolina Beach over the weekend. And the footage he got is out of this world incredible. So just he posts little videos and montages and all of that. So even if you don't need his services, you still will enjoy the things that he shares and that he creates and stuff like that. So just search for SkyPix by Kenny Lloyd on Facebook and Instagram. Anyways, JP, Patreon shout out.
All right, shout out. Got some shout outs here. Shout out to Alex Jimenez. Shout out to you, Alex. Dan Ashdown across the pond. Big shout out to you, pal. Vixie Bixie, our gal in New Zealand. Shout out to you, Vixie. Shout out to you. Got some more shout outs here. Derek Patterson. Big shout out to you, brother. Shout out for you. Jeffrey Gunnell. Shout out to you, Jeff. Big shout out to you. Nancy McKnight. We got a shout out. Get a shout out to Nancy McKnight. Kate. Shout out to you, Kate. Big shout out to you. Glorious, probably the most rhythmic name on the list.
Indeed.
Big shout out to you, Glorious. Shout out to you. And John Hale, last but not least, got a shout out here. Shout out just for you, John.
Thank you so much to all of you guys and gals for your donations and just helping this channel. Like I said, we're going to let that sit there. We're going to let it bank up, and we're not going to buy anything that is not related to this podcast. We're going to buy new camera setups. We even want to make a backdrop so we can, because we can podcast it on one of our houses, but the sound quality here in the studio is just phenomenal. So we want to keep that. But we were talking about maybe even building a sweet backdrop for when we do video podcast. So lots of cool things on the way for this channel.
That's right. Just onward and upward, baby.
If you made it this far and you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Even if you didn't like what you just heard, you can continue to hate on us by subscribing and keeping up with the videos that we post. we don't mind trolls. Also, don't forget, if you're listening on YouTube, to press the little bell icon beside the subscribe button so you'll get notified whenever we post new content. So is there anything else I need to go over, JP, before we wrap this thing up?
I think that's it, man. Just all, anything you need to know, you can find in the description for the video. And we thank you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you again tomorrow for Random Rambling Wednesday. I'm Justin.
And I'm JP.
Damn right you are. And we're the Podcasting Dead.
Shiver